Three, two, one. Welcome back to the Rastakhan Light Force tier list valuation stream, podcast, YouTube video, whatever you're watching, listening. I'm Odwicta.
This is Merps. We're doing classes now, Druid.
We're doing all the class cards now, and we're going to start from the top end at the bottom and then talk about Legendary separately. That's our pattern, and we're going to try to knock these out in 20 minutes each, and you can know by the length of this if it is successful or not. First things first, all these classes have influential cards. No class was screwed by Rastakhan. There are some influential cards in each, usually two that we would consider premium cards, and so the impact is going to be there. And there are also a lot of very bad cards that you will never draft in the arena. It's a very polarized expansion, Rastakhan. So we're going to start from the top. First card in Druid is Savage Striker. Savage Striker is a 2-mana 2/3 battle cry. Deal damage to an enemy minion equal to your hero's attack.
Yep, and the score for this is 143. Really high.
Really high. Because it's a very solid 2-drop, right? It's a normal croc, and then after it's a croc, later on, it deals an extra damage, effectively. Or, if you can synergize it with another card, and there are plenty of these cards in Druid these days, including a new one that they added. You can synergize with something that buffs your hero power, and you're not just using your hero power, you can deal even more damage, right? Like, if you have, like, a claw, you can deal 3 extra damage with this card. And now it's like a 2-mana deal 3 damage, summon a 2/3.
Yep. So, once again, this is a card that goes with Blizzard's design philosophy in which don't give it, like, more stats than it deserves, but give it an ability which brings it into the mid and late game, right? And this is good. Like, you attach, like, if it's just a 2/3, well, that is like meh. But if you're able to deal 1 damage, you're already getting like 3 mana's worth of value with it, almost, right? And if you deal 2 damage with it, that's. I mean, there's a reason like Keeper of the Grove is.
Well, you're never gonna deal 2 damage. You're never gonna get 1 extra attack on your face. You would get 3 extra damage.
Yeah, well,
because you use it with your hero power.
You, like, combo with stuff. If we're just talking about the hero power, right? Then yeah. But yeah, this is the reason why it's so high. And I see some confusion. People are just like, wait, what? Like, I don't understand why, because the effect is small. The score, it comes from the relative effect of compared to the mana cost as well, right?
Yeah.
It's like for 2 mana, you're getting so much for 2 mana, and it does matter when you're getting like that much for only 2 mana.
Similarly scored card. So if you're wondering what 143 means, it's around Power of the Wild, like Druid of the Claw, Wild Growth. It's not as good as Tortollan Forager. I remember when we first rated Tortollan Forager, and everyone was like, "You guys are crazy," and I'm like, "What? It gives you a free card that's big. How could it not be great?" But we've held on to that high score, and Blizzard has it in the top bucket too, so we're all aligned at this point. But it's the same kind of deal, right? Like 2 mana, you get something extra from it that's not necessarily part of your curve. Okay, Mark of the Loa, same exact place as these other cards. 4 mana, choose 1, give a minion +2/+4 and taunt. So a Valence chosen with taunt. Or summon 2 3/2 Raptors.
Flexibility is really good. And flexibility, not just in terms of, well, okay, you can choose A or you can choose like A1, right? No, this is like you choose A or you choose Z. Like, This is very, very different. And different is good. Whenever you have a choose one that is extremely, extremely different and board centric, and both of these play into what Druid wants to do, right? Like, you either want to make 1 minion bigger, or you want to spread out a little bit and go with your Savage Roar. And this is the 2 Raptors are offensively statted as well, right? So yeah, this is just a premium card that perfectly plays into what Druids want.
Like, would I trade a couple of stats on the Blessing of Kings in order to make it a very on-curve drop also? Oh yeah. Definitely. And that's what this does. So, if you compare it with Blessing of Kings, it's going to be like a little bit below Blessing of Kings, I think. What's Blessing of Kings? Blessing of Kings is 155. This one's a 141. Okay, so it's somewhat below Blessing of Kings. It's trading off 2 stats, gaining a taunt, and then having an option to be on curve. So yeah, it's a little bit lower, but not that much lower. Like, this is a super premium card still. Yep. And so that's where those are the 2 premium cards for Druid. I think we're gonna do a little cutoff after the 2 premium cards we reveal for each of the class. I'm gonna talk about how that affects the arena. So Savage Striker and Mark of the Loa. You can buff. You can have small things on the board. Druids get what? Tokeny. They get the synergy with the hero power and with things that buff their attack. And as part of the tokeny things, they can buff their tokens and make it bigger. It's kind of coming together, right? And if you're wondering, wait, isn't that what Druids do now? Yes, that is exactly what Druids do now. So these are very good cards. Okay. What is the next card for Druid?
Are you like
Pounce? Pounce is our next highest card. I had to search a bit for that because it went down a lot. The last card we talked about were Druid of the Claw levels, which is about a 140. Pounce is a 111. We're now below Yeti. So this is not a great card. And once you hear it, you may wonder why, but we'll explain. It's a 0 mana card that says give your hero +2 attack this turn. So giving your hero +2 attack this turn seems like, oh my god, I'm dealing 2 damage. This is like a backstab. It's like an unconditional backstab. How can it be so low? The meta has kind of evolved past backstab. Like, even in Rogue, which has that hero power that's excellent, the power of backstab over the past 2 years has kind of slowly degraded a bit. And this one makes you take more damage. Like, it's just not as good as a backstab. So it's a little lower. I mean, significantly lower than a backstab. It's also 0 mana. So if you're like a little bit weaker than something, it's going to magnify the effect. So it's a totally draftable card. I don't know where they're going to bucket it. But if they bucket it around where, let's say, Claw is, it's going to be fine.
Yeah, and the thing about something like a Pounce as well, it takes away your ability to hit something else with your hero power if you want it, right? This is one of those cards in which it's like, health does matter, number one. And I do agree with your assessment on backstab. It's one of those things that I do not really take anymore. Like, I don't take it because the opportunities in which I use it are either less frequent or not as impactful, right? And then I would much rather have that be just kind of a different card. Not saying backstab is bad now. We're sort of like trashing it a little bit, but whenever I see it in a bucket, I tend to take something else much more often than I take backstab. But yeah, it's one of the problems with Pounce as well.
Yup. Okay. Next Druid card is people are gonna give us so much flack for this. It's Ironhide Direhorn. Ironhide Direhorn is a 7 mana 7/7. It has Overkill. Summon a 5/5 Ironhide Runt, which is like vanilla 5/5. It is pure power creep on War Golem, and we rate it a 105.
105.
This is a significantly below Yeti card. If they put this in a very high bucket, now to be fair, Yeti's in the 3rd bucket, so Yeti's already in a high bucket. But if they put Ironhide Direhorn in one of the top 2 buckets, or even the 3rd bucket, as I'm almost certain they will because it looks insane, don't take it. Unless you have like some weird beast synergies going on with these other Druid cards that are going to give beast synergy, but they're bad. It's a trap. And not the nice hunter kind. It's the kind where you make your deck worse.
Even hunter traps are traps in Hunter. I can explain that, but I won't.
You can explain it next when we do the Hunter video next.
I know. But I think this needs a little bit of an explanation because this caused an uproar. And I said as well, I'm just like, Overkill is not a good mechanic, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it is essentially never a good mechanic when it's attached to an insane amount of value. Now, what holds this back, right? Number one is the fact that it is a late game card. Once again, the problem you saw in Linecracker is the problem we see here. This is better than Linecracker, obviously, because Linecracker's overkill is concentrated within itself. And also because it has an over attack, right? Ironhide Direhorn's overkill creates something new, which is good. But the turn that you play it, what is your opponent facing? It's facing a 7-mana 7/7, right? The next turn, are you able to overkill something with the 7 attack? Probably, yeah, probably. So now you hit something, but your thing still doesn't have like taunt or anything to further affect the board. So now you create this 5/5. The 5/5 once again does not have initiative, right? That thing does not have initiative, and now it goes to your opponent. Stuff happens, and now it comes back all those turns later, and then assuming that you had that 5/5. All right, let's start using up that 5/5. So according to our algorithm, what would like a 7-mana 7/7 be? It's like really low.
War
right?
Golem is terrible.
Yeah. What's the
War
score?
Golem's 89 in Druid. It's actually higher in Druid than others because Druid has pretty even cards.
So look, 89 for a 7-mana 7/7, and then there's obviously a little bit of a beast bonus, and then the increase. So think about it this way, guys. Look, because a lot of people are immediate like, oh my gosh, you are so freaking wrong, and I can picture this as well. People are going to give me examples in about 2 weeks, and it's like, look at this games. Like the Druid absolutely won based off of Ironhide Direhorn.
And that would be true.
And that would be true. There are so many cards in this game in which I'm like, no, it's not a good card, but there are going to be
okay card. It's not a bad card.
Purely won because of this card, right? But if you agree with the score of War Golem, which is at 89, 7-mana 7/7, how much better do you think this is, knowing that even when you do get the trigger off, so the board has to be, good for it.
Well, you're always going to get the trigger off on this guy.
Right. Well, no, like when it matters, right? So, because this is the thing that people need to think about. You have to have dropped this, and in 2 turns after it comes back to you, it has to matter at that point that you have this new 5/5 to have initiative with. Okay. Now, the chances that you will have that situation come back to you and you have this 5/5 and then it matters, it's not as high as you guys think. And yes, in super control versus control games, this will matter sometimes.
Well, okay, and that
sometimes,
a War Golem would matter in super control v control games. Like if you're playing super control v control, War Golem's better than a 90. But that's not the average of War Golem.
So
people are bringing up things like Worm. It's like, oh, why is Worm 20 points higher? Worm has a death rattle. Worm always gets a 5/5, even if you kill it on the turn it comes out. How huge is that value? That no matter what I do to you, you will get the value. Versus, oh, if you can just remove the 7/7 when it comes out, which, let's face it, more than half the time you can, then it gets no value. Then it's just a War Golem with a soft taunt.
Yep.
Like, that's not even close to comparable. Although I guess, Vile Worm is also a mana more. So that's also not comparable in that way. But
other critique, and people are trying, like, all right, I would specifically shout out Ugbog because it's like, wait, I thought stats matter. You guys say stats matter. Delayed stats in 2 turns, maybe, does not matter as much as stats. Like, we have to once again, I'm just gonna point this out. Do you guys agree or disagree with the score of War Golem? Because if you guys are saying your War Golem score is so wrong, it's like it's so wrong, right? Then I'm like, okay, fine, I understand. Like, I totally understand here. If you guys are thinking, no, your score for War Golem is like pretty much there, then. But if you think this is like 40 points higher than War Golem, then I think you need to reevaluate. It's like, wait. You think that dropping like that in 2 turns after that, you maybe like have initiative with the 5/5 is worth 40 points, then we're just looking at this like totally different, right? Like then like we can't really discuss anything with this. So like once again, don't focus on this card. Focus on War Golem, and then think about the actual implications, the actual game effects of this card, and then think about the score.
Yup. Okay. Yep. I think we beat that one to death.
Yep.
Next is Spirit of the Raptor. Is a 99. This is one of the few playable spirits. You're going to see that we rate spirits very low. But this one does work out pretty well. It's a 1 mana 0/3 stealth for 1 turn. After your hero attacks and kill a minion, draw a card. So what this basically means it's a very delayed 1 mana draw card. Which is 1 mana draw card is not a bad card. The problem here is that you have to use it on the turn that you also like use your hero power, and then it kills something. It's gonna eventually happen, but it's delayed. But the good part is after that, if you can kill something on the very next turn, you just get a bonus card, right? And even if you can't, you still have an 0/3 that your opponent has to remove, so you effectively gain some health, or you can buff it, or like whatever. So it's still doing things on the board, even if it doesn't trigger again. And its first trigger kind of gets its whole value back, right? You don't lose a card for it, it's only 1 mana. So it's a 99. It's a pickable card. And if that's where, I think, if you think it's going to trigger like a lot of times and actually get value, like it's like a Blessing of Wisdom or something, it's probably not. Like, your opponent can put the board in a way that makes it difficult for you to use your hero power to actually kill something. This is also one of the problems with Frostlich Jaina. And I mean, I know people thought that she was insane. You like automatically generate a water elemental every turn, but you didn't. You generated a water elemental maybe every other turn, probably less than that. And Druid has less tools to change the attacks and health of stuff to the exact right number too. So
Right.
I think it's a 100. It's a pickable card. You're gonna pick it. You're gonna sometimes get a bunch of value out of it. Sometimes you're gonna get like just a delayed cycle out of it, then it'll be fine.
If you look at the biggest factors that like cause this score, it's what's good about it? It's 1 mana, right? So it's very flexible. What's bad about it? Well, you have to actually kill something with your hero power, right? Like that's not too common. So, and like the bad thing about it is like it's a card. People forget about the fact that like cards are cards.
Oh, and people like
Crazy.
I see someone in chat comparing to Mortal Coil. This doesn't give you a hero power, so this would be like a 3 mana Mortal Coil
Yeah.
that then leaves the
Yeah.
body and you could do it again. So it's like not the same as Mortal Coil at all.
Yeah.
All right. What is next? Tree Speaker. Now we're in bad cards. Tree Speaker is a bad card. 5 mana 4/4. Battlecry. Transform your Treants into 5/5 Ancient. You're going to lose to this at some point, but, you know, don't take it unless you have a Treant deck. You're not going to have a Treant deck. So don't take it.
Cool. All right. After this, we have Predatory Instincts at a tier score of 71. 4 mana, draw a beast from your deck, double its health.
So,
you know, it's you get to draw a beast and double its health. I don't know what much to say about it, but even if you draw something big, you are going all in on something, right? And 4 mana is a decent amount to invest in that. And if you have like like Crocs or Raptors in your deck, well, you better hope you don't draw them. So it sucks.
So imagine this says 1 mana, draw a beast. That's a bad card, right? Then imagine it says 3 mana, add 4 health. That's a bad card, right? That's pretty much what you're getting. 2 bad cards put into 1. And there's times when you don't even have a beast, and it's just like falls apart completely. Finally, you have Stampeding Roar, which is a 6 mana epic spell that says summon a random beast from your hand and give it rush. That's a 35. That means don't take it. Because, I mean, it doesn't do anything. You at most save a couple of mana and give something rush. If you get all the synergies like lined up. Like you have to have a large beast in your hand that does not have rush. And you have to have a target for the rush. And at that point, you have changed a card for like a couple of extra mana and rush. It's terrible.
Okay, so those are the cards for Druid, and now let's go to the Legendaries, right?
Legendaries. Legendaries are top card. I think this is our #1 legendary? Is this the
Maybe.
best legendary in the Rastakhan expansion? I think it might be.
Maybe. If it's not, it's one of them. War Druid Loti. 3 mana, 1/2. Choose one, transform into one of Loti's 4 dinosaur forms. And I will give you the list of the dinosaur forms. So you can do one of 4 choices. First choice is a 3 mana 1/2 poisonous and stealth, so a worse wasp. 3 mana 1/4 spell damage +1, so downward mage. 3 mana 4/2 rush, or 3 mana 1/6 taunt, and these are all beasts. So you're like, once again, all of them by themselves are like, right? But you can choose any one of those 4. This is like an insanely flexible card. So that's why the score is ridiculous.
Yep. Nah, I don't think there's too much explaining on that one. But normally you pick the poisonous guy, just so we're clear.
Yep.
That's your normal pick.
All right. The next legendary is Gonk the Raptor, tier score 85, 7 mana, 4/9 beast. After a hero attacks and kills a minion, it may attack again. Okay. That's all I can say about it.
I may attack again. You don't get anything out of it. You just get to like take more face damage and deal 1 more damage.
Most of the time. But you know, the stat is like okay-ish. You know, the stats are kind of like okay. It is a beast and it has an ability, so
it's an 85. You don't want to take this card. But you know, it's there are worse legendaries, right?
There are.
That's it for Druid. What do you think about Druid overall?
I like Druid. Look, Druid has become the 2-drop class, right?
Yeah.
So they get 2 drops and they get flexibility. Well, that's pretty good in this tempo-y meta. And what's really good about Druid is every few expansions, like every couple of expansions, they continue to get their small drops, but then they get like something really, really, really big that also helps them out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's Ultimate Infestation, whether it's Living Mana, right? Like something really, really big and tempo. They just have all of these tools. And like, so the best thing about Druid is kind of like the flexibility and the fact that they have all this late game, but they're so good at protecting themselves in the early game as well. And this just furthers that, right? Savage Striker, Mark of the Loa helps them a ton.
Yeah, I think Drew is going to be insane. Mark of the Loa is going to be one of the most underrated cards of this expansion, I think. It gives you tokens, which you want. It buffs stuff, which you want. It gives extra health on the buff, which is what you want as Druid, because you want to be board cleared, because you're setting up tokens. It does everything you could possibly want. It's like if someone made a dream card for Druid in this upcoming expansion that fits in with the last expansion, that would be it. So I'm very excited about Mark of the Loas. I think it's an auto pick as long as it's not in the very top bucket. And I don't think they're going to put it in the very top bucket. So we'll see where it ends up falling. But I could see it being like a super like, oh, this is the card. And again, because we don't have the buckets, we don't really know where your value is going to come from, unlike in Boomsday, which we pretty accurately told you like where to pick what. We'll have another discussion once we get the bucketing set up. But for now, just know Mark of the Loa is a great card. Keep an eye on it. And Ironhide Direhorn, probably keep an eye on that as well to avoid picking, unless they weirdly bucket it low. All right, that's it from us. This is Druid.
Okay, see you guys in Hunter.